Hello everyone! I hope you're ready for another adventure, because today, Wayne continues to read Runaway Ralph. Always remember that as we read these amazing adventures and go through these outstanding stories, all you have to do is press the CC button in your YouTube link in order to follow along with the words. Now I think that Ozzy will be perfect to join us for today's adventure. Now that Ozzy's here, let's jump in. Runaway Ralph, Chapter 8. Ralph strikes a bargain. Lana was the one to discover that Ralph was missing. The morning after Ralph's escape, she came running ahead of Aunt Jill to the craft shop. She stopped short when she looked through the screen door and saw the litter of nail seeds and plastic strewn all about the workplace and on the floor. Aunt Jill, she shrieked. Even though Aunt Jill was directly behind her, burglars must have gotten in and someplace stole Garf's mouse. Ralph crouched out of sight, behind a fluff of dust, in an angle where the brace joined the study. Here he heard the campers coming. Garf, called Lana. Your mouse is gone. Someone stole your mouse. Hey, look at the mess, said Pete. The mouse cage is all bent, observed Garf. A thief wouldn't have to bend the cage open, would it? First a watch, now a mouse, said another camper. A thief is in our midst, cried Lana, eager for excitement and mystery. All right, boys and girls, let's pick up the nails and seeds and roll up the plastic. Aunt Jill's voice was calm. This crisis was not the first she had met at Happy Anchors, nor would it be the last. Then Ralph heard Garf's voice saying, Look at the hole in the screen door. It's big enough for a cat to squeeze through. Good thinking, Garf, said Ralph to himself. He picked up his phrase from the many school teachers who had stayed at the Mountain View Inn while in the summer vacations. I'll bet Catso got my mouse, said Garf, adding sadly. He was such a good mouse, too. Ralph could not help being pleased by the compliment, and a little sad, too. Of course, he was a good mouse. He had known that fact all along, but hearing himself spoken of it in past made him feel that the world would have been a sadder place without him. Garf, you're a good detective, said Aunt Jill. Catso must be the guilty one. Aunt Jill, you don't think the cat ate the mouse, do you? Lana was awed by the enormity of this crime. I hope not, for Garf's sake, said Aunt Jill. What about my sake, said Ralph, indignantly. We'd better look around, said Aunt Jill. Perhaps the mouse is hiding someplace. Instantly, the mouse house was organized. Butterfly nets were seized, jars and boxes moved, craft materials lifted. Here, mousy, cried Lana. Here, mousy. As if I would come running, thought Ralph, huddled behind a dusty cobweb in the dark shadows. I guess he's gone, said Garf at last. The first and probably last mouse I'll ever have. Garf, I'm putting you in charge of repairing the hole, said Aunt Jill. Get a piece of screen and some wire from Uncle Steve, and we'll make sure Catso won't come in here again. We wouldn't want him to annoy Chum. At that point, the fur along Ralph's spine began to tingle. There's Catso now, cried Lana. Ralph felt the slam of the screen door behind them as Lana ran out. Bad Catso, bad cat, he heard her shout. The scolding did Ralph's heart good. Later that morning, after his riding session, Garf returned with a piece of screen and some wire to repair the hole. His work was frequently interrupted as campers left the craft shop and drifted off to other activities. When Aunt Jill left, Ralph came down from his hiding place in a series of leaps through the screen door and watched Garf sitting on the step, weaving the wire patch to the screen with a piece of thin wire before he could say Garf, about my motorcycle. Startled, Garf woke up from his work. You're alive, he thought with pleasure, almost gratifying to Ralph. I thought Catso got you. How come you believe Catso got me when you wouldn't believe Catso stole the watch, demanded Ralph. I can run and I can jump, you know, and a watch can't. Just as logical for a cat to steal a watch, Garf insisted. If I show you where the watch is, will you believe me? Asked Ralph. With a look of interest, Garf sat on his heels. Somehow, he said, I don't want to have anything to do with that watch. I don't want it to be seen near it, or people will start saying I took it again. Most everyone's forgotten about it, and I want to keep it that way. You don't have to go near it, said Ralph. Just watch me. Flattening himself, he squeezed under the screen door, jumped down the steps, and ran out into the bamboo leaves. Suddenly, all the leaves looked alike. Which leaf was the one hiding the watch? Ralph did not know. He looked under one leaf, and then the next. He heard Garf mutter, huh, and returned to his work. Over by one of the lodges, Lana shouted, Bad cat! Ralph pushed some of the leaves aside and crawled under the others. Where was that watch, anyway? There was no telling how many leaves had fallen since Catso had dropped the watch. Ralph crawled deeper and deeper into the leaves, and was finally rewarded by a touch of metal against his paw. Next, Ralph grasped the buckle and the lever strap and tugged. The watch was heavier than he had expected, but it slid across the smooth inside surface of the leaf. Ralph waded through the leaves, pulling it in with all his strength, and at last he emerged, dragging the watch behind him. "See," he told him, "I told you I knew where it was." "Well, what do you know?" Garf sat down at the step of the craft shop. "You really did. How did you know the watch was there?" "I told you," said Ralph impatiently. Katso picked it up with his mouth, carried it out here, batted it around for a while, and finally dropped it, where it slid into the leaf. "You know, I believe you're telling the truth," said Garf with wonder in his voice. "Of course I'm telling the truth." Ralph was indignant. "Well, what good does it do me?" asked Garf. "You know I can't return it." "And if I said Katso stole it, people would laugh." Fair. This moment was the one that Ralph had been waiting for. First, he pulled some bamboo leaves together over the watch to hide it before he faced Garf. "All right, let's talk business," he said. "I'll return the watch and clear your name. You give back my motorcycle." From the trampoline, Ralph heard Lana say as she bounced, "Bad dog, Sam. You're supposed to be a watchdog." She stopped bouncing and began to scold Sam. "You're a watchdog. Why didn't you watch what Katso was doing? Why did you let Katso get that poor mouse?" Garf thought a while before he said, "Why do you want the motorcycle? The ground is pretty uneven around here." "Why do you want it?" countered Ralph. "You're too big to ride it. It's a mouse size, not boy size." "I want it because I like to think about motorcycles," said Garf. "I push it back and forth and was thinking about riding a motorcycle when I grew up." "I want to ride," said Ralph. "Now back to the Mountain View Inn. I want to go home." "The Mountain View Inn?" Garf was incredulous. "That's over a mile away. You'd never make it." Ralph recalled the long and thrilling downhill ride. He remembered how he thought at the time how he would never be able to make it back up the mountain road. "Maybe you're right," he admitted. "Of course you wouldn't," said Garf. He pulled the motorcycle out of his pocket and ran a finger over the front tire. "Your tires would never stand the trip. They're wearing smooth. There is a lot of mileage left in them if you ride along floors, but you won't hold up on the highway." "Oh!" Ralph had not considered the possibility of his tires wearing out. "And another thing," said Garf, "you'd probably get laryngitis from making a motorcycle noise before you were even at the highway." Ralph was utterly dejected. "I suppose you're right." "Bad, Sam, bad!" scolded Lana from the trampoline. Ralph ducked under the leaf while some campers walked past. "What am I going to do?" he asked pitifully as he emerged. "I can't stay here with the cats. I'm a hotel mouse. I'm not used to living on weed seeds out in the cold. When winter comes, I'll probably die if the cats don't get me first. I've got to try to make it back to the hotel." "You should have thought about things before you ran away," chided Garf. "I should, but I didn't," thought Ralph coldly. "You don't have to sound all grown up." "Sorry," apologized Garf. The dinner bell rang, and the campers began to run towards the dining hall. Katso, avoiding Lana with a haunted look on his furry face, darted from one hiding place to the next on his way to the kitchen door. Poor old Sam, so conscious and anxious to please, padded dejectedly down the grass with his tail drooping. He had failed in his duty. Ralph did not have much time. "Do we have an agreement or don't we?" he demanded of the boy. "I have a better idea," said Garf. "I'll take you back to the hotel myself when my family comes to get me. They'll be spending the night there before they come back to pick me up the day after tomorrow. The camp doesn't serve us lunch on the day before we leave, so I know we'll stop at the inn for lunch before we start for home. It's the only place around here. I could easily take you there along in my pocket." This offer was more than Ralph had hoped for. "But the motorcycle," he persisted. "If I return the watch, will you give it back?" Ralph felt he would rather perish at Happy Acres Camp than return to the hotel without his motorcycle. "How will you return it?" Garf was curious. "You couldn't get it up on the shelf in the craft box, or up on a desk in the office." "I didn't say where I would return it," answered Ralph. "I said I would return it. I'll leave it somewhere where Karen is sure to find it." Ralph thought this plan over. "But people might think I left it there." Ralph had an answer. "Not if I leave it where boys can't go." "You mean in the girls' bathroom?" asked Garf, visibly impressed at Ralph's idea. "Maybe," said Ralph carelessly, "or Karen's lodge, or the girls' dressing room by the pool. You better make up your mind or you'll be late for lunch." "It's a deal," said Garf suddenly. "You return the watch by tomorrow, and I'll give you back your motorcycle. The next day, I'll take you to the inn. But remember, no watch, no motorcycle." "It's a deal," agreed Ralph. "And you might want to throw in a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for my dinner." "Would you care to shake on it?" asked Garf. Ralph extended his paw, which Garf took gently between his thumb and forefinger. They shook. "I'll meet you by the bamboo tomorrow morning after breakfast," said Garf, and he ran towards the building dining hall. "If you're not there, I'll come back later. I hope I'll be there," thought Ralph, who knew that a night of peril lay ahead of him. A peanut butter and jelly sandwich would help give him the strength and courage. Over in the dining hall, campers begin to sing. "You can't get to heaven on roller skates, 'cause you'll roll right past those pearly gates. You can't get to heaven with a nickel in your jeans, 'cause the Lord don't allow no slot machines." Oh wow, that is a very interesting way to end today's adventure. What did you think, Ozzy? I like that part too. We'll see you in the next adventure, okay? And we'll see you in the next adventure, here with Wayne Reads. Thank you for joining us, and we can't wait to see you again. Bye-bye!